Jonathan Lemire, it's one thing if you're sitting back while you're tied with Donald Trump in the polls. And again, these polls are early. They may mean absolutely nothing in terms of who wins ultimately. But it does matter to fundraisers, to people that want to give you money, that people want to get behind your campaign. If it looks like Donald Trump's 20, 30, 40 points ahead of DeSantis, suddenly things cool off very quickly than when they were tied just a couple of months ago. So it's one thing if you want to be weak towards Vladimir Putin and you want to be Neville Chamberlain of 2023 because you think that's what the party likes, because that's what you want to stay as close to Donald Trump as you can, that's one thing. But if you start bleeding points and suddenly you turn around and you're 20, 25 points behind, yeah, it may start to make a difference. You may want to differentiate yourself on something like Russia and say, hey, Donald Trump's a weak old man. He's the guy that said Vladimir Putin was savvy for invading Ukraine. He's the guy that called Vladimir Putin a strategic genius. And DeSantis is now calling Putin a war criminal. He's saying Putin needs to be prosecuted, held accountable for those war crimes. He said something about Russia that I would not say. It's about the whole gas station thing. But he's saying those things. He's talking tough on Russia. Maybe is he trying to get a little bit of distance between Donald Trump and himself?
It's possible. I mean, he obviously received a lot of blowback from other Republicans, particularly in the Senate, about his depiction of the Russia's invasion of Ukraine as a mere territorial dispute. But to your point, if we go back from December, that poll, that is a 27-point swing, 27-point swing from DeSantis to Trump. Now Trump up 14 when he had been down 13. And it's not like Donald Trump, to Michael's point, has been out there doing a heck of a lot other than potentially getting indicted. But he is, the CPAC speech was his sort of one signature moment. And we saw around then, like this seeming like, oh, yeah, the base kind of started to revive itself again. And we have talked about it nearly every day, Joe, about how Donald Trump is a deeply, deeply flawed general election candidate. And these indictments are going to hurt him there. But we're seeing in this snapshot, and again, it is early, Trump is still the clear favorite for the nomination. And Jen Psaki, I want to get your take on this. Like, if you were advising Governor Ron DeSantis, and I'm sorry, pity if you are, but if you were advising Governor Ron DeSantis,
I'm not. I can confirm I'm not.
Let's have a full disclosure. Jen Psaki is not consulting with Governor Ron DeSantis. You look at those polls, and look, you're still the best alternative, right? You're DeSantis. You're still way ahead of the Pence, Pompeo, Haley group. The anti-Trump forces seemingly have coalesced you. You're still getting the media attention, but you are now trailing. How do you reverse that trend?
Well, I think, Jonathan, first of all, they're trying to find their lane here, in addition to kind of switching his language on Russia and Ukraine. And I will note, by the way, he also said in the same interview that his larger point is he doesn't think Russia can take over Ukraine or threaten NATO, even if the U.S. doesn't escalate. So he left himself a little bit of space there also not to support additional funding. And who knows what else he meant by that. But that wasn't totally full throttle. But the other thing he did yesterday was he doubled down on this culture wars argument. He wants to be the culture war hero. Now, I don't know that that's going to win him Republican primary voters, but that's another place where he seems to be experimenting. So my advice, which he's not seeking or looking for, but I'll give it to him right here, is that you have to find your lane. Are you going to be the person who is smarter and more steady than Donald Trump? Then you better have a slightly better answer on Russia, first of all, because that wasn't super sophisticated in a lot of ways. Are you going to be the guy who is the culture war hero? That doesn't help you in the general election, but maybe that helps you in the primary. Right now, he's flailing in a lot of directions, and my advice would be to find the one lane and the one place and continue to drive that home.
And, Joe, it's been interesting. We've been talking, you've been looking at a lot, how the sort of Murdoch empire has been boosting Ron DeSantis against Donald Trump. And there's a 4-page spread this morning summarizing Piers Morgan's interview in the New York Post, including this headline, wow. Ron's heart is with the people of Ukraine. If you turn the page then, it's a 2-page spread about how he's gotten fit and slim. Ron DeSantis apparently has lost a bunch of weight as he prepares to run for president. He's looking fit for duty, says the New York Post.
Sounds like Al Gore in 2000. jogging on the beach.
There you
Okay,
go.
great. But you know, it's so interesting. I'm sure he got so much blowback with his first answer on Ukraine, and the fact that he was actually lifting Kremlin talking points by calling it a territorial dispute. I'm sure he heard from. I'm not saying he heard from the Murdochs. Would not be surprised if he didn't hear from people close to the Murdochs, as well as a lot of huge fundraisers saying,
Exactly.
hey,
Yeah.
dude, listen, we're not getting on the Trump train again.
Yeah.
If you think we're supporting a guy that's going to try to take us out of NATO, a guy that's going to be complimenting Vladimir Putin, a guy that's going to be repeating Kremlin talking points, no. We're not on that train. And it sounds like somebody got to him and said that, because calling Vladimir Putin a war criminal, saying that he should be held accountable, Miga, that is him finessing this. But I agree with Jen. He's got to find a lane. It's not enough to not talk
Seems like
about
he's
Trump.
looking for it.
Yeah, and I will say in the Piers Morgan interview, that was the best as far as just his demeanor. That he's not scowling at press conference. And I know, Ron DeSantis also, Jen Psaki, not asking me for advice.
Turns out
He's already checked the box, though, on I am angry and I yell at women reporters about woke issues and I attack teachers and I attack. He's got that box checked, right?
Yeah.
Check the box. Now move on and show, like you said, I'm the steady, competent guy that knows how to get things done, and I win. He's shown the anger. They're on his side. Now he can grow the base. He's never going to out-Trump Trump.
Right.
So he's checked the box. Stop the stupid press conferences and screaming at reporters.
We'll see.
Now, I'm just saying the smart move would be, though, Jen. Now, like you said, show Republican voters, I'm steady. I'm not going to make you cringe every time I get in front of a microphone. You're not going to have to worry about what I'm going to say. I'm going to actually get things done. Look at all the things I'm getting done in the state of Florida. Donald Trump passed absolutely nothing other than a huge tax cut for billionaires in D.C. You know what? And most importantly, I know how to win. Don't you think?